That's what I'm trying to understand. And I don't know if it was rubbing you the wrong way or whatever, but I was legitimately trying to understand what your problem was, and it's a little bit hard for me, obviously, to do it from, just asking you questions in a chat channel. But that's what I was trying to understand, right? I mean, that to me is what I bring to the raid that is separate from, my ability to tank or whatever. Is just that, I can usually look at what's going on and come up, figure out how to fix it.
I mean, do you need someone else to lead that group? Because we can switch, like me and Valk, and I can come and lead that group, and Valk can come and DPS in the other one.
No offense, but I don't think Happy would be keen on that one. If anything,
well, I mean,
placing me.
I don't think that would be. I don't think that I would have a problem with that, but I certainly don't know if the other party would have an issue with it. But I mean, I don't expect the groups to change at this point. I'm not expecting that. It's too trenched into the culture of the guild at this point.
Oh, no, it's not. Culture in the guild was never this bullshit.
You're right, never.
Yeah, and so, I mean, one of the things that we talked about before you got here was Rack and I both said that we'd be happy to switch to the other group. And the problem is just that the logistics are a pain in the ass, because you and Valk, I think, want to be in the same group, and Nom and Green want to be in the same group. So it effectively means that you've got 2 tanks that are locked together and 2 priests that are locked together. And so, me and Rack switching doesn't work at all. Those 2 people, the 2 people that are totally willing to switch and would probably make the biggest difference in terms of leadership, effectively can't switch because of those logistics. And so, like the notion of this, super hardcore mode group versus, the other group, I think a lot of that was just a byproduct of kind of all of these pairings and how they work out, and then, just kind of building 2 groups that actually work just from a class balance perspective.
Well, what I was going to expect to happen in what I wanted to happen would have been the 10 that we had, which did not end up happening.
Well, the problem there, and I don't know about Galley, but I know Kinch was really focused on being in a group that downed heroic modes. And I think what he was saying was that, there was people in your group, and I'm not saying you were one of them, Appy, but who, at least as far as Kinch and Aggro and, a lot of those guys were saying, probably were not capable of performing at the level they were looking at. And so what that was going to result in, for better or for worse, is that they were going to probably leave the guild to look for something more hardcore. So, there's these different kind of constraints, and the way I look at it is, Kinch, Grunge, and Aggro all need to be in the same group, and they need to be in a group that's performing if we want to keep them in the guild. So that's one thing. And then I look at the constraint of you and Valk want to be together, Nom and Green want to be together, and then we've got some people who don't want to be in the same group as Kinch, Grunge, and Aggro because, those guys are too hardcore and they don't want to be in the super hardcore group. They don't want to get yelled at for making the same mistake twice in a row. And so there's all these constraints. I actually think Andy did a fantastic job of building up the 2 groups the way he did, because from what I can tell, there's very few people who are actually unhappy with the way this arrangement broke out.
You don't know our group.
I don't know your group.
No one. Just so you know, Appy.
We like our group. Don't get me wrong. We like the people that we're with, but we all know we got screwed.
Just so you know, Appy, I put up a thread on the forums, and I had something in the guild message of the day for over a week telling people to go and let me know what they wanted in the group. When I was building them, only 4 people voted to spread and have 2 groups with the good people spread around. 13 people voted for a more hardcore group and a more casual group, which is more than the 10. And then 4 people voted for I don't give a shit what I get as long as I raid. Like they're like on call and rack. They don't care which group they're in as long as we're still actually raiding. So only 4 people actually let me know what they wanted. That they wanted to spread the love. That and Galley doesn't want to raid with Greenpeace because Galley can't stand the fact that you guys have to end early.
We don't end there.
Well, I mean, okay, all of that is true, okay, given. Doesn't change the fact that we got screwed.
Well, I mean, what else is there, like, to do differently? It was either
I think what we're asking is,
or everyone does.
I think what we're asking, Appy, is what's your suggestion? How would you like us to fix it?
I mean, the only solution, well, real quick, the only solution I see long term is 2 separate guilds. Because the culture is different now. And the culture between the groups is different. And that's exactly what you're saying. That the culture is different between the groups, which means there should be different guilds.
Well, what would that solve at all, though? What would that problem solve?
Yeah, the only thing that does, you won't see the achievement things. That's one thing, and I think you can probably get a mod that turns that shit off if you want. So that's an easy thing to change. The other thing it changes is one of the group will have to go and level another guild to 25. We won't be able to, share professions and shit like that. We won't be able to bullshit in guild chat, to run the new 5-man guild. Those things all seem like disadvantages. The only thing that breaking into 2 groups actually helps with is the fact that you won't see the achievement things. And like I said, I think you can turn those off.
It's not just the being; it's the existence of being screwed. If we're not in the guild, then I don't worry about it because you're not part of the guild. I don't get reminded how I was screwed.
Happy. Okay, hold on. It's still going to be there. I mean, the 2 groups will still talk to each other. We may not see the achievement pop up, but both groups are still going to have to be able to talk to each other. That's still going to be there. The moment one group downs something, the other is probably going to hear about it from somebody. I mean, unless it's truly separate servers, separate everything, that's just part of it. I mean, I hear on the server when certain guilds down something first, and I just don't think about it. I think grass to them move on, and that's just it.
I'm totally jealous every time I hear it.
Here's my problem with the entire thing. The splitting of the groups was never going to fix anything. I mean, yeah, we appeased a few people. People are still raiding, whatever. Ultimately, the bees were always a 25-man group, at least since BC. The problem was, we started this to be able to keep Kinch and Aggro.
No, you're wrong. You're operating on a false assumption. The reason we broke up into 2 10-man groups has nothing to do with making a hardcore group and a less hardcore group. It has to do with the fact that we couldn't get 25 people to come to raids. We didn't raid for like 3 weeks in a row because we didn't have 25 people showing up. And it wasn't for lack of trying to recruit. We had a lot of people trying to, no, let me finish, because I think this is important, because I think people keep saying, why aren't we still raiding 25s? That's the reason why. We couldn't raid 25s anymore. This game is slowly dying, and we're not keeping up in terms of influx. This was the only solution that works.
Yeah, it was either that or we have to server transfer, because honestly, this server's dying. Like, look at all the raiding guilds we have. There's like 3 or 4 decent raiding guilds on this server, and that's Horde side only. The only other option would be, if we want to keep 25s, is server transfer.
And that might not fix it either.
I agree with that fact. We needed to split if we were going to have the max amount of people raiding as possible. I just don't agree with how the split happened.
Right. And the problem is that like I said, I'm kind of challenging you to tell me how we could have done it better. It's easy. Actually, it's easier for you to say it would be nice if the 2 groups were, a little bit spread more evenly, or something else. But the problem is, logistically, I'm just not sure there's a better way to do it than the way it got done. I think Andy did a very good job.
All right. Well, then the culture of the elitism needs to lead.
Okay, so
Like the elitism is bullshit.
okay, so hold on. So now let me. I need to understand that, right? Because I don't think anybody, with the exception of me, and I wasn't trying to be elitist. I was just, I wasn't thinking, right? It's been a while. I hadn't been here for a while, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And I think I said something that pissed you off, and for that I totally apologize. As soon as I said it, I think somebody in Rain Chat was like, "Oh, now you did it," and I didn't realize it, and I'm sorry.
No, it's not simple little comments. I mean, it's the culture. I mean,
Now,
I seriously doubt that everyone would be okay if we made the groups more even. That's what that's what people are telling you. That's what you're telling
What I'm more telling you is that I don't think there is a way that we can make the groups significantly more even and make people happy with the groups they're in.
We've always,
I think with the groups and pairings and whatnot, I don't think there's another way to build groups that makes sense.
Okay,
we've always had like an elitist group. I don't want to say elitist, but our core group, and that was the group who did the 10-mans after the 25s. We always had a group of about 12, 14 people that wanted to work harder and do the hard modes. I mean, there's no question. That's how it's always been. Problem is, there's all 14 people that want to do that, and only 10 of them got put into what you're calling the A group.
Okay. The fact is that then the cultures are different. Like, that's the idea behind the two separate groups, is different culture.
I think that's fair.
Which leads to different guilds. That's what exists. That's why guilds exist.
No. Guilds exist not only just for that, but also so people can just hang out and have chill with their friends. I still talk with people that are in your group all the time in guild chat.
Yeah, and I'm not saying just because if somebody is like not in one group and the other group isn't running or whatever. I mean, you guys had Jag in your group last week, right? So, I mean, that couldn't happen if we split into two different guilds.
And I'm not saying that there is a solution. And I know that my problems are personal. I understand that fact. I know that I get pissed off when I see how I got screwed. I understand. That's why I don't know if I can do it. I'm not saying that I don't want to, but I don't want to be reminded every week how I got screwed.
What would make you feel less screwed? I mean, I don't know how we could split the groups up with the logistics of the people who want to be together a different way.
Okay, that doesn't change the fact. Okay, so there's no way for me not to be screwed. Okay, then I either need to leave or the group goes. I mean, and I'm not saying that that's something that should happen. Okay, I'm not saying that they should leave, but I don't know if I can take. Which, I mean, who cares? If I leave, I leave. Whatever. What does it matter? Somebody else will take over, and the 10-man will go far.
So, just because that you see a couple achievements pop up for another group, you're going to throw away, let's see, you've been in this guild for how many years now? You have how many friends that are in this guild? Just because you can't, you don't like seeing a couple achievements pop up on there?
You're making it sound so simple, like it's, these simple little...
Well,
it's not.
Well,
it's not simple little achievements.
It's the reminder that somebody else is getting it done more easily than your group is, more successfully and more whatever. I get it. That's fine. So my question is, one of the things that we could easily do is if you and Valk were willing to split up, we could figure out how to swap some of the talent around. That's an option. If you're willing to give up, something, then, I think that gives us some flexibility in terms of how the groups are organized. Very easily we could swap Valk and Rack, or we could swap you and Cormac. There's a lot of different things we could do. that would work. But my suspicion is that's not going to be any more acceptable to you than, being in the group that isn't, rocking out as hard.
Appy, who's the problem in our group, or who are they?
It's hard to define, but Green is awesome, but he's not as good as other tanks, and same thing with Nom. Green got 16 impales today. And Nom was clearing. Something's up. Something's got to be up there with Green. I don't know why, but he wasn't clearing, and he doesn't clear on a regular basis.
Okay, so
Why wasn't he brought up while we were trying it? I don't remember you even calling him out at all on it. You complained in the chat about him.
Yeah, and I would say Green is one of our. I would say Green is one of our better tanks. No knocks against Nutsy. He's been trying hard, but Green, I think, picks stuff up faster than he does. Plus, he's got the natural advantage of being a druid.
Yes, of our two best tanks, On Call would probably be one. Green is definitely number two. And I would say, Nom and Nupsy are probably about tied, because Nupsy makes a decent amount of mistakes, like you would not believe.
Okay, one thing I don't understand is there's another tank, that Paladin, that has a chick's name. He ran with our 10-man group, and he did great, a lot. Why isn't he in there?
Annabelle doesn't want to raid with Green or Nupsy because he's someone's ex, and he's like Nom's ex, or not Green and Nom. And Nupsy doesn't want to raid. I don't know why, but Nupsy doesn't want to raid with Green or Nom. So
ridiculous.
I know. Nupsy and Annabelle don't. Yeah, those two don't want to raid with Nom or Green. They both sent me messages when I was building the group saying that they would really prefer not to raid with them.
Well, look, my point was that while we were actually trying to do all these attempts, we figured out a few problems. We figured out that we needed to do a circle as opposed to the path. That worked out a lot better. We needed to figure out that we needed to clear off Seth's their face rage or whatever, and me and Doc were both trying really fucking hard to do it, that's one of the Shadow Priest shortcomings, but we were trying. Those were things we were solving, but at the same time, I don't think the tanks were called out at all the entire time, except for the complaint.
Yeah, so I think that one of the big differences, my suspicion is between the two groups, is that there's going to be in the grunge kinch aggro group, there's going to be a lot more focus on getting it right at the expense of people calling each other out. And I think that's going to be one of the big cultural differences, I think, between the two groups. And from what I've seen, Abby, you prefer the culture of, a little bit less aggression, calling people out, whatever. You seem to prefer a calmer, friendlier raid. And
it doesn't work well with hard modes.
Well, I don't think it's a question of not working well. I think naturally the progression of that group is going to be a little bit slower, but you guys will have to figure out how to do it, and I think it'll come over time. You just have to be a little bit patient. You'll have to figure out.
That's what I would disagree.
Okay, about what?
I believe there's a skill level, like a skill ceiling. I believe we've hit.
It's 3 days into hard mode attempts. You want to hit shit.
But the problem is that what I'm hearing from what Bayet's saying is that you guys were learning all the way through. There was some stuff that probably wasn't being emphasized enough, I'll say, in terms of this is what's causing us to fail right now. I think that let me tell you what I saw in our group today. I saw a whole bunch of different people all focusing on the different areas that they needed to execute to get this right. So the tanks were figuring it out, the DPS were figuring it out, and everybody was doing it without needing to be told to do it. And I think that that's going to be one of the differences between the tryhards and maybe try not so hards. Is going to be that, I don't need to tell Grunge to figure out how he can squeeze some more DPS out, right? He's already doing it. He's doing that all the time, and he's always doing it. You know, so
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, so like I said, I think that some of the folks in your group are used to having other external people to push them, and I think that you're going to have to be a little bit patient and let them figure out, either accept the fact that you're never going to do hard modes. That's option one. Or option two is figure out either how to do the pushing yourself or how to get them to push themselves. And either of those will work.
Okay. While I deal with all this, I have to deal with knowing that I got screwed every week.
You need to get over that part. I mean, it sucks, but this is what we've got now. And I do think
Essentially,
we can start doing some hard modes, but it's going to take some time.
Essentially, Appy, it was either a small amount of people get screwed or everyone gets screwed. That was essentially the breakdown of it. Honestly, I mean, that's all there really was to it. I mean, I'm sorry that it had to be you. You're a great guy and all that, but...
No. I don't even buy into that. Nobody got screwed. There was only one way to do it based on the constraints that people had, right? If you were more flexible about who you were able to raid with and who you weren't able to raid with, Happy, likely we could have figured out a way to get you into the other group. If you had said, I want to be in the hardcore group and I don't give a shit, who I'm
Well,
doing it with.
We could have had the group I was working with.
I don't know.
What you're missing is a lot of those people don't want to be in that group. They want to be in a hardcore group, so you have to work with someone else. Now, if you're used to being in the hardcore group, for years we had our set 10, or we had our set probably 8 or 9, and we brought in 1 or 2 other people. You're not in that group anymore. I think that's what's upsetting you. I could be completely getting this wrong, but I think the main issue is it's Valk or me in that group, and I don't see them wanting to have Valk instead of me, just for the leader aspect. But since you have Valk with you now, it adds more and makes it harder for you to be in that group. I mean, am I getting this wrong, guys? Or does that make sense?
It'd probably make more sense for you to be swapped with me, if anything, because Valk DPSs me all the time.
Well, that's the issue. You got to have someone in this other group who's going to be keeping up and putting 22 to 25k DPS in order to keep in order to keep everyone happy in that group. But no, what I'm saying is for getting Appy in the other group. He was always in that group. He was always in that group before. Now that he's running with Valk, I don't want to say we, Cormac was brought into the group instead of Appy. And the feeling that I'm getting from Appy is that's where he's feeling he's getting screwed, is because he's no longer part of the group.
It's the fact that it's believed that there's 2 different cultures in these groups. Now, if that's how it ends up being, then yeah, I'm not part of that culture. I'm more part of your guys' culture. So, I mean, if you want to put it like that, then yeah, that's in the essence where I got screwed.
That's the way I feel.
Yeah, and no Dolly's there too.
I'm pretty sure I've been in that group forever, and now it's not going to happen. The progress that I've been used to the past 6 years, whatever, couple years I've been fucking raiding with this guild, is totally gone. So it really, I don't know how long I'm staying. We'll just go with that.
Well, I mean, what would you do? Leave the guild or quit playing?
I don't know. I'd probably quit playing because this is all I've really had fun doing, was playing with this guild.
And you're looking for like a more hardcore progression, right? Like not more hardcore, like a little bit more like than what you guys are like doing right now. Because
what does your group need to progress faster? What's holding you back?
Another 15 people.
Good answer, man. I would.
Cool.
I
Get
think
recruiting.
I'd say
For one,
it's a mixture of a bunch of things. It's competence. It's not being
for one,
being
the
the
fact
head.
that we have to switch Asa and Anya every week. Like
And Bay,
that's not
here
going to help the
Thursdays.
situation. Yep. So just on that fact alone, we don't have the consistency that we should be getting. Second of all, I mean, Dolly's right. Competent. I love AS and Anya, but they're not nearly as good as any of our other healers.
Ayesa is one of our better healers. Anya, I will agree.
Now, AS is definitely competent, and I'll run with her any given day of the week. But I'll take a Gallia, Cormac, and Old Man over AS any day.
But she plays a pally, so it kind of doesn't matter. We gave you all the pallies.
Yeah, that's why she, that's why she can look as good as she does. Because I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
And I love her. I love playing with her. Don't get me wrong.
I don't disagree with that. I think in practice it works out such. The way I would say it is, not taking. Just looking at the healing meter, so to speak, I would take Ayesa over Cormac. If the two classes were balanced, I suspect Cormac would be the better player. But, being a pally is kind of like having, two aces in the hole.
Mm-hmm. And Dolly is our third healer, which is awesome. He's great. I love Dolly, but I know he doesn't want to heal. And I don't have anywhere near the flexibility to make that.
Okay, well, I don't think there's an easy way to do this right now. Again, let me say it this way, Abby. Why don't you take a look at what Andy did and tell me what you would like to see swapped? Understand that me and Rack, and there's at least a handful of other people, are totally flexible. So if you can find the same way to resplit the groups, I think we're more than happy to do it. I think the other option that we could do, and I think it's going to be a logistical nightmare, but I think maybe we could try it, would be to shuffle people around a little bit. Have you and, basically keep the same group that, we have now, but rotate you and Valk for Cormac and Rack, or something like that. Figure out something like that. Give you, a half and half experience or whatever, and I think Rack would be fine with that.
Okay. Now my question there is, I'm perfectly fine with that. I could care less. I really like running with Bayet and Dolly. I don't know half the other people, but I'm cool with that. Will the other people be happy with that?
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't think that would ever go through with. I probably.
I mean,
my group would be okay.
Okay.
But I don't
here's the
think
thing.
That changes nothing for our group, other than Rack coming to lead, which is minimal. I'd say.
Yeah.
And then what do you think you guys need then? What do you think you need then, Dolly? No one's asked you what you think. Like, if leading isn't what you guys think is the problem, like, who? I mean, if you're gonna want to start doing hard modes with that group and we don't get to switch anything around, you're gonna have to start telling certain people to improve. And there's definitely a lot of room for improvement in both groups. But you'll need to start telling the people they need to improve. I mean, shit,
And
at least
what if?
transform.
Yeah, I mean,
Gonna happen.
even if
And then we're not.
Yeah.
And then we're not going to get more players. It's not going to happen.
yeah,
And
I mean,
and we
we
can't
can.
get more players.
We're not going to get players to fill our 10-man.
There's at least a handful of standbys now. I don't know what it is you need. The other option that we can do, and I mean, the reason I'm willing to consider it is because, like, you guys are the ones I most care more about in the guild than, some of the newer folks, to be quite frank, I don't feel a huge amount of loyalty to a lot of those, the folks who have joined in the last 6 months. I feel less loyalty to them than you guys who have been around and I've been writing with for 4 or 5 years. So if you wanted to set it up this way, the other thing that we could try is throw some more people out into the cold, and in terms of raid spots, and like me personally, I'd be happy to raid in both groups. If we set up a weekend run, and then that might be an option that lets the whatever it is, 15 or so core people we have raid in one raid each.
Yeah, I'd be happy running a Sunday Monday group. I would definitely be bringing in some of my friends into that. Boom Shikwa and Seth Arlo would definitely be in that group. But that would free up some of your skill, what you're saying, to bring in alts to the Tuesday-Thursday group. But that would also leave out, like On-Call was saying, 4 or 5 people. And honestly, I've been gone for 2 months plus. I could care less about half the other people. The people I care about are in this group that we're talking with right now, and most people who are down in the Fallen channel right now.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I don't think in this group, I don't feel comfortable screwing the other people. Now, first of all, I'm not saying there is a solution. There may not be one. Second of all I know is that, I'm not going to be able to make it, and Dolly knows that too. Which, if that's what it comes down to, that's what it comes down to. There's nothing that can really change. The things are set as they're set.
They're not set as they're set. We're trying to work with you, Appy, to make this work.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from Appy is that he's saying, I understand that you guys would be willing to consider another option, but I don't think there's another option. I think he's saying he agrees with us that really this is the only way to do it. He understands that we're all willing to swap in and out and, be flexible, but I think he's saying that he gets it. He gets what we're saying, that this is how it's got to be. He just, he's saying that given that, he may not want to stick around.
Is that sum it up, Abby?
Well, pretty much.
Well, one of the things that I'd be at least a little bit curious about is, let me say it this way. I've got the word of a couple of people I trust that this group, well, let me say it this way. I think there's conflicting ideas about how skill capped this other group is. Because, I look at it and I say, I think the group that I ran with tonight can probably do hard mode rag. We can probably clear it on hard mode. It'll take us a while. Maybe we'll get stuck somewhere along the way, but I don't see any reason why we can't do the whole thing. So it surprises me that, you really believe, if you're telling me that the skill cap on that group is a little bit lower and, you don't see yourself doing hard mode rag, cool. I would not argue with that. That's probably correct. But to say that you can't get any hard modes down, that seems hard for me to believe.
I'll agree with that. You have Valk and Epic, two of the best DPS we had in the 25 men. They were always both top 5, always. They have you healing, you have Greenpeace tanking, you have, a Yesa healing. You have a pretty decent amount of pretty good damn people. Not, as skilled as some of the people we have, but definitely enough to go in there and do hard modes if you guys just focus.
And if they found another healer for you, then it would free up Dolly to DPS, and that would be even better.
Yes, that would be one big step. But the problem is the comparison. That's the problem. if the bees had never existed and I had my own little 10-man with these 10 people, I'd be fine with that. I would have zero problem leading.
Okay, well, so that's one happy where I don't think we can help you. And so I think you just have to straight up make a decision about if that's really a deal breaker for you, then I think you got to go. There's not going to be anywhere around it. No matter what, there are going to be two groups, and one of the groups is going to be doing better than the other. And if you're saying you can't be in the group that's behind, you know, I think that's, I don't want to be too offensive here, but I think that's incredibly selfish of you. I'm saying that I wouldn't have a problem being in the group that's, you know, slower. I'd do my best with the material I had, and I think Rack is saying the same thing. You know, that's what I think it means to be a leader, is to say, you know, I don't have to be the one out front. You know, sometimes you got to lead from behind. Oh, that sounded dirty.
Wow.
And that, you know, and that's why I've said, you know, I know that this is a personal problem. I know that's what I need to figure out. I understand that.
Okay, so how about we do this, Happy? How about you stick it out for another week or two, and keep working with what you've got in that group, and then if there's anywhere along the way, if you see a swap that you'd like to make or something that seems like it would make sense and you know would work and be, you know, acceptable to most of the people in the groups, you let us know and we'll figure out how to make it happen. If you decide, you know, I think one of the other options that we discussed tonight is we have a Tuesday, Thursday group and a Sunday, Monday group. And if we do that kind of shit, then I think that opens up a whole bunch of different options. You know, potentially we make some people unhappy, but it's people that, quite frankly, that most of the people in this group don't care about, or at least care about as much as the core group that we've been raiding with forever. So that's another option, but why don't you stick it out for another week or two and see how it goes. And, you know, let me say it this way. If you guys, I don't know if you're going to raid on Thursday, but if you raid on Thursday and you down Shannock's Heroic or whatever, you do make good progress, I think maybe you'll feel a little bit better about the group as a whole and what you can do with it and all that other shit. And I think maybe some of this stuff goes out the window.
Probably.
I'm gonna preemptively say you're wrong there, just based on the rag attempts that we sat and before the nerf and just sat and fucking died.
Do you remember how much the good 10-man wiped on Lich King back when they were starting him?
That wasn't on stupid shit though. That wasn't repetitive dumb shit.
How much did you guys call out the people that were doing the repetitive dumb shit? Because I remember getting called out quite a bit when we were doing, like...
And I maybe I'm confused or something, but I think I was in the same group as you were talking about Deli when we downed Rag.
That was the week after.
It being...
The week after.
Okay, so there was a lot of dumb shit the week after.
That was the first week of the split, but the week before the nerf. And yeah, we couldn't kill that.
Okay, well, I mean, we'd only killed him once or twice before that, so it's not like he's on farm.
I've never killed him, for example. I mean, it's just we've
I've never killed
always
him.
been so behind. I mean, I know I come from a little bit of a different background, as I was in a really hard mode deal before you guys, but I came here for that reason. This is a bit more casual. It's 2 days a week. You're just not going to see some things down as quick. You know, and I always figured everyone was pretty okay with that. It's one of the things I've always enjoyed most about this guild is that overall, it's not that big of a deal. So to see this few days of a few hard modes come out and it's a big issue, I mean, it seems a little bit jumping the gun. I figured I'll just give me some time.
The problem is the ease with which you guys did.
It's not ease. We're fucking working for that. We're not just like doing nothing. We're yelling at people. We're telling them to get on their shit. And that's how it gets done. I mean, it's not like we just walk through it. You guys had an 8%, and I know you're upset that the ones after that were 30%, but I believe before that, ours were probably closer to 30% as well.
Yeah, once you hit that 30% mark, it's pretty much, you know...
This was your first real night together with everyone, right? How many times did it take?
8, 9?
We've spent 2 full, almost full nights on
But
it.
how much have you guys
Yeah,
called
but
out the
hold on.
problems?
But hold on. I'm the main person who's been missing, and you know me. I learn fucking fast. I get this shit figured out, and I'm all, like from that first attempt, I was yelling at people and telling them what to do. So, to say that, I don't know. To say that this is the first night the group has been together, I don't think that's a fair thing to say. Assume that this was the second or third night or whatever, just because I wasn't around last week doesn't mean shit.
I mean, I promise you, if we had the same, or at least close to progression, I wouldn't be having a problem. Like, I know.
Totally understood. Totally get it. And if we hadn't downed the hard modes tonight, I don't think that you would be having an issue.
Exactly.
Totally understood.
But if you want any kind of like progression, you guys really need to start calling out those things like Bay was talking. Green wasn't wiping his stacks, and you guys weren't saying anything about it.
Okay.
I think your expectations of this group are a little bit high right now, but I think at the same time, your expectation of potential ability is way low. It's kind of conflicting because you want us to be as good as the quote-unquote A group, but at the same time, you're not giving us the opportunity to build up to that point.
It's not even needing to be as good. I know that's an impossibility. But the difference is what's striking.
Wait. Okay, difference of not being as good. You guys were 8% away from a kill. I mean, that's pretty close to as good for that. I mean, if that 8% had been different, people would have been pumped and done more. I mean, I know what it's like to get in a rut and fail over and over and over again a lot longer than 3 days. It happens. 8%. You guys should be happy about that and pumped instead of just really getting to this discussion we're having right now.
Well, I think part of the problem is that we got that 8%. We were pumped. We were awesome. And then right after that, you guys killed. They're like, okay, fine. We'll kill him too on this attempt. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. We're a little bit behind him. So we'll kill him on this one. And then we did.
You more than it affected the rest of us, but your reaction to it then brought the rest of us down, dude.
Everybody, I mean, hold on. I was going to say something.
No, please do.
I'm trying to remember
He's going to say,
if we were at
fuck you, Bay.
Wouldn't be the first.
Well, okay, so maybe that was me, but I mean, I'm sure I wasn't the only one that was disheartened by that fact.
Yeah, well, we're still fucking trying. Not long after that, you started complaining in officer chat and just whining about it. Yeah, it sucks, but fix it. I mean, I don't know the mechanics of the entire fight well enough to focus on the healers or the tanks. I mean, I know I'm doing the best I can to not step in dumb shit and make sure I keep DPSing when I'm supposed to DPS, and I'm trying to do my part. And it's not my job to call out people on stuff that I don't know. I mean, I don't know the mechanics of the fight whatsoever, so, I mean, we're looking to you for some guidance here, not just, oh, we just died again. Oh, we're not clearing stacks. Okay, well, why aren't we clearing stacks? Why isn't this happening? What's the problem?
Did you guys have someone lay out like a, this is what's different in this fight, this is what we need to do this, do that? Did you have something like that pre-laid out, or did you just kind of look up a strategy to the fight a little bit and then just, kind of go from there?
No, we knew what was going on. Because everybody in that group knows the fight.
Kinch had a thing laid out on the forums, this is what's different, this is what you're gonna do,
yeah,
this is what we do this, and he pretty much had the entire thing laid out already for us and ready to go.
Yeah, we know what's going on with the fight. I don't think anybody doesn't understand what's going on with the fight. We had some things where we had to learn.
You may know what's going on. I'm not. If Green wasn't clearing his stacks, he didn't know what was going on in the fight. Straight up.
Yeah, You're making assumptions.
Okay, and I can talk to him about that. That's fair.
To be honest, like I said, I don't know what the tanks are actually supposed to be. I mean, I've got the gist of it, but I don't know what max range is. I don't, I don't give a shit because I'm not a tank. So, but not everybody knows every single aspect of the fight.
Well, I trust Green. Maybe I don't trust him enough.
Yeah, it might be that you trust him too much at this point. That you need
Yeah.
to correct him.
I mean, that's right.
Exactly.
That's
leads to the point.
Part of it.
Of
I mean,
a skill
I think we can
Sorry.
we can talk about the mechanics of the fight. One moment. I don't know about other people, but I gotta go here pretty soon. But just in hindsight, we can talk about it all we want after the fight about what they're supposed to do. I think until perhaps you guys are in it again Thursday and really start critiquing on each attempt, because we really were pointing out things on each attempt and trying to see where the fuck up was, not person, just the fuck up in general, and get that fixed out. And that's really.
And
well, it's not like we weren't identifying problems.
So one of the things that I think we did that helped us a ton was every time a dog got trapped, we would call out at the end of, the trap wearing off and whatever it is 10 seconds later, whether the buff had fallen off and whether stacks had gotten
Yeah, that's what we
And who was chasing?
Yeah, and the expectation needs to be that there's a reset every time, and when there isn't a reset, you need to figure out who the dog hit, and they need to fix it for next time.
Yes, that's
right.
I mean, that's pretty much what we were.
Okay, and so was it the same people getting hit every time, or what was going on?
Rage face. I don't know if we had the time or if I had the patience to talk about the mechanics of what was going on. We can't, but it's getting late.
Okay, what I'm wondering, Appy, and this is my honest guess at what the problem was, is just that, let me toot my own horn and say that I'm very good at identifying what's going wrong and suggesting fixes to make it work. And I think that in a lot of cases, that makes a huge difference in terms of progression, whether it's in 8 attempts or 20 attempts. Is just how quickly you can identify what's not working, who specifically just fucked up, make sure they understand how they fucked up and what they need to do to not fuck it up next time, and then do it again, right? And the faster you can kind of repeat that and, figure out what's going wrong and, in an ideal world, identify multiple of those things in every attempt and come up with strategies to work it, the fewer attempts you can do it. And then you're absolutely right that there's a skill cap, and people making the same mistakes over and over again, that's going to kill you every time as well. But
that's fair, and I'll stick it out for a couple more weeks. I can do that, and I'll make a job to focus on finding those errors and making sure they're set. I will make a focus of it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that, particularly on progression attempts, if you want to see fast progression, that is the most important thing. You got to make sure that every attempt you're learning something. Even if it's, if you get to the point where somebody says, oh shit, I fucked up, this is my wipe, cool, all right, good enough, let's move on. But if nobody's saying I screwed up, it's basically, it's whoever's leading the group, whoever's watching for that shit, it's your screw up because you didn't catch it. You didn't catch what went wrong.
That's
and it sounds like you knew it. You knew what was going wrong. You just weren't figuring out how to fix it.
At the same time, Uncle, we'll go with just Zathal for example. I sat there and suggested for 3 attempts in a fucking row, ice block, ice block, ice block, and I can't make the dude push his fucking key.
Okay, but from what I've seen, Seth is actually a pretty good player. His DPS may not be huge, but there may be some mechanical reason why maybe it was on cooldown, and he doesn't talk back a huge amount, I don't think, but I think from what I've seen, you don't have to suggest the same thing to him twice. There's usually a good reason why you can't do it.
This isn't at him. This is just a general statement. Like, that's what happens in our group. Where Epic has something to fucking say, that some reason that he thinks it's different, or just the leadee is not doesn't happen to the effect that it needs to, and I don't know if it can with some of the people in the group.
Okay. Okay, well, that's a different problem, and I think that's just something that may be a matter of whoever's leading. I don't know whether it's Happy. I don't know who's calling the shots in your group or what your division of. Let me say it this way. I think with me and Rack in one group, it's very clear who's leading that group, right? I mean, just like that's the way it works. You know, Rack and I have been running together for a long time. We're really good at working together, and when somebody like Kinch is stepping up and calling certain things, it's easy to integrate that. I think in your group, you've got a bunch of people that maybe aren't as used to running together, and that's something that's going to have to shake out over a little while. And I think it can happen, but again, I think maybe you just have to give it a little patience. And you may have to tell Epic, in particular, to shut the fuck up. Because, he's got a big mouth, and in a lot of cases, he doesn't have a lot to say. He's just opening his mouth to, say what he thinks is going wrong, and it's like, yeah, dude, everybody gets that. How do you want to fix it? And that's the part that he's not so good at. So, that's a fixable thing. And, I mean, the way I was dealing with it in our raids is I would just whisper him and say, hey, dude, can you try to be a little less, talky? You're not helping right now. And he was usually pretty good about it. If I whispered him like that, he'd calm it down a little bit.
Yeah, look, the moral of the story is that I need to step up as a leader. Okay, I can do that for a couple weeks. I'm willing to do that.
Or you need to. It's not an or. I think that will help. I think your other option is, or the other thing that you can try is, folks like Bayet and Nico and maybe even Epically. I don't know what resources you feel like you've got, but those folks who have an opinion, give them a specific job. On a particular fight, you can't watch everything, but you can ask Nico, here's what I want you to keep an eye on. I want to make sure that when Riplin gets ice blocked, that his stacks are falling off within 10 seconds of the ice block. I want you to call that shit out.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I understand. Delegate.
Yeah. So you've got good people in your group. Use them. You don't have to do everything by yourself.
Okay. That's a fair takeaway. That's something that we can work on for a couple weeks.
Okay. All right. And I am more than happy to listen in on your attempts to try to kind of diagnose what is going wrong, if I can sort of hear what's going wrong, or if you guys are still working on it at a different night, I'd be happy to play on an alt, and either me or Rack, if we're in with you, or Zag, or pretty much anybody from the group, I'm sure would be happy to give you some suggestions about, here's what works for us. Now, the risky part with that is what works for us may not work for you. And so, I guess all of that shit you'd have to take with a grain of salt.
And then another thing that you might want to consider for the more, straightforward, just straight number-wise, if you put up a world of logs for healing or DPS, or, we can always have someone take a look at it and give pointers on how to do better.
Yeah, and if there's specific people who you think their numbers aren't great, like I know Grunge is perfectly willing to spend some time researching, their class and looking at, their gems and their shit. And, the conversation I had with him tonight was, I think that he's done that proactively a couple of times, and that people haven't, done anything about his suggestions, and he gets pissed off on that. But if people volunteer for it, and I think the commitment that he'd be looking for is that, if he's going to take the time to do the research, they have to, commit to within a week actually doing shit about it. And, from a gold perspective or whatever, if that's the issue, I'm happy to kind of cover stuff if people want to do that. So anyway, what I'm getting at is I think that there's a support network here in the guild that you can totally take advantage of if there's people who are willing to push better and want to, improve, but just aren't quite there or know how to do it themselves.
Okay.
Anyway, I've talked myself out. You're going to give it a shot for another couple of weeks. Let us know how we can help.
Yeah, like Nico and I will be more than happy to step up too. I mean, if you need anything out of me, I know I can't read Thursdays, but some Thursdays I can.
Okay. I know Nico has the ability to lead, like, our help with calling things out, because he was doing it when Rack left and before he went off to kill us all.
I mean,
if I'm going to have to lead, man, I'm going to have to. I mean, I can't have Anya and ES switching everything.
That's something you can just flat out go ahead and say.
Hard moves come with hard choices, dude.
They really do.
I mean, if that's not what this group is about, then I shouldn't be doing that.
You're losing
that
and
it's your call about them. No, it's not
you
that.
should talk to your group and see like what all they want. If they want to do a couple of the easier hard modes, or if they want try going full out, or if they just want to just fuck around in the like regulars. Maybe occasionally try a hard mode just to kill time.
Okay, if that's how it comes down to, I can't do.
Right, and I get that, and that's fair. But it sounds like you guys are right on the edge of being able to do Shanox. That might just be a kind of a gear cap thing, where if you just do raid regular ship for a while, get a few more heroic tokens, or sorry, not heroic tokens, but tokens. Get people a little more closer to their 4-piece or whatever. That can be the difference between a 5% wipe and a kill. And that people like Grunge, I'm calling out his specific example because he went and spent $70K of Rack's money on weapons. I don't think anybody in your group is that hardcore.
Which, okay, I agree with you.
All right, let's call it night, guys.
Yeah,
Yar.
I have sex with my wife.
Correct.
I was just thinking the same thing, babe.
Me too.
The same thing.
Tell him on the
Life is pretty sexable.
See you in a moment, man.
See you guys.
Yes, sir.
They hop into another room.
All right.
Bye.
Lead the way. I'll follow.
Bye.